And welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie Jurassic Attack, also known as Rise of the Dinosaurs. So this is a sci-fi original movie, obviously made for TV, and as such it's going to come with certain expectations attached to it. Obviously it's a low budget film, so don't expect anything too groundbreaking here. Really tells the story of a group of special forces types kind of getting stranded in a sort of remote jungle area where they're trying to recover a very miscast female scientist from this kind of group of rebels. Ultimately they sort of managed to sort of retrieve the leader of the rebels and this sort of female scientist, but end up crashing their copter in a kind of prehistoric sort of reserve place, which is basically, we're told, is this sort of large crater where this ecosystem has survived since the sort of prehistoric times, and it's populated by sort of various dinosaurs and one other sort of human who they sort of come across who's been there for a few years and has kind of gone a little bit crazy. This film reminds me a lot of, now you're going to want to say Jurassic Park here, but it actually reminds me more of Predator. So much so that I actually think it apes Predator in a lot of ways. Now you replaced a Predator with dinosaurs, and this is a very, very similar film. Even so much so that it actually has a very, very similar soundtrack, the kind of like the sort of percussion and stuff like that. Even a couple of lines that were taken straight from Predator. Being a TV movie, obviously the CGI here is very poor, or very kind of like low budget. And I have to say, I mean, I've seen a few of these sort of sci-fi films, and this one, the CGI is noticeably bad. I think, to be honest with you, because they try to sort of reproduce a variety of different dinosaurs, they kind of stretched the budget a little bit thin compared to if they just had one monster. They maybe have to sort of animate a little bit more than sort of the others. So the dinosaurs look particularly CGI, especially when they're kind of moving. There's a couple of shots where they're kind of still or not moving very much. They don't look too bad. Now, you know, I'll put a couple of pictures up and you kind of see, you might not think they look too bad, but when they kind of move, especially the raptors and this female scientist, and she's basically just there as eye candy. She's the most unbelievable scientist I've ever seen on film. The rest of the cast are kind of pretty forgettable. You've kind of got a couple of semi-well-known names sort of back in the kind of base. I think Corin Nemec and Vernon Wells, I think, are both there as a kind of bickering sort of military commanders, whilst the rest of the sort of the boots on the ground sort of troops are more or less unknowns. And you can tell which ones are going to die first because they simply aren't developed at all. It makes quite a very obvious cannon fodder. The rest of the cast, though, are kind of, they're okay. They do a kind of okay-ish job for a kind of low-budget film, not taking it sort of particularly seriously, or alternative, they kind of like look like they're acting in a pantomime, so it's kind of one or the other, really. Of course, with all sort of sci-fi films, you always have to have a kind of human bad guy as well, obviously, to sort of pad out the running time to sort of cut down on the amount of special effects they have to put on this. And as I mentioned, obviously they kind of had this sort of bad guy, sort of rebel leader sort of with them, and he ends up sort of being really the sort of one of the sort of the main antagonists in the film. Although there's quite an interesting scene sort of late on in the film where you kind of think maybe they'll come to some sort of agreement almost, but I won't go too much more into the politics towards the end of the film. So it was, I've seen worse sci-fi films, I've got to say. If you're a kind of person who can kind of maybe look past special effects, I think even with these, you'll kind of maybe think, oh, that looks a little bit too cheap, that you just can't quite let it go, unfortunately. That being said, as I say, that I have seen worse. This is, you know, a relatively straightforward plot, to be honest with you. It's fairly easy to follow. It's not particularly gory. It's okay. Probably a below average film in general, if I'm completely honest. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 10. Certainly not the worst of these sort of TV movies that I've seen, but certainly not on the upper echelons either. So 3.5 for me. Have you seen it? Let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.